I'm going to read from Sketches. This is called Out of Your Mind. In a society in which insanity is the functional norm, going out of your mind might be the only way to get out of the general state of mentality. It's all relative. The insane can function and do mechanical routine work. If their insanity is a conditioned reflex, the result of brainwashing, then they will do very well in almost all avenues of day-to-day life. But when confronted with certain types of problems, they will not be able to act. Their insanity will feed upon mechanistic information services such as the worldwide media business, and it will provide them with language skills and social interactive skills. Their general outlook will be to destroy any unknown element which intrudes into their well-ordered, routinized lives, no matter whether such intrusion is brought about by their own activity or the activity of others. A thin veneer will be visible covering all their activities, and underneath that there shall lay a primitive, coercive, brutal animal reason that knows no human logic or understanding, only the law of the jungle. They believe that numbers mean something ontological, and so when they see that there are many like them, they assume that this means they are normal, which means they are sane. In fact, the question of whether they are sane or not never enters into their own existence, and should one question it, they are prepared to do anything insane to defend their sanity. In such a society, going out of your mind just might enable you to break the straitjacket mindset prevalent and get you to experience things in a way that is truly sane, though far from the norm of the society. It has been written that insane societies have existed in previous eras and times. Erich Fromm, for one, postulated that Nazi Germany was such a society where the standard social norm, though in a majority, was objectively and most probably clinically insane. He wrote that it is very probable that such societies have existed earlier in history and that they will exist many years hence also. His views were widely accepted, but it may be that they were misunderstood and applied in a way not intended. The entire gamut of what constitutes sanity is largely a subjective, relative worldview that never transcends the current worldview of science and religion. We're all familiar with the persecution of scientists by the early Holy Roman Church in its attempt to wipe out blasphemy, despite the overwhelming evidence that existed to say that the Church's views were factually incorrect at the time. It has taken hundreds of years for this virtual universal authority to accept some of the most fundamental objective facts of this universe, including that the Sun is the center of our galaxy, a view disputed by the Church on the basis of Scripture for 2,000 years. Insanity in those dim distant years was not as simple a matter as it is today, for the Church held the view that man was made in the image of God and was therefore perfect, and anything that brought about a distortion of that image was caused by the devil, which resulted in the persecution of many men and women throughout the ages on charges they were in some way possessed by Lucifer, the devil. That was the societal norm, and despite its being obviously illogical, subjective and non-scientific, it was defended by the might of empires and states alike, virtually to the death. Apologists argue that mankind as a whole was not as advanced as modern man, and give a variety of reasons for this, all of which tend to deflect us away from the real issues. In the Orient, the movement of the heavenly bodies is often blamed for this state of affairs. Some schools of astrology state that there was a 2,000-year period when the celestial bodies, both near and distant, were acting to cancel out all of man's higher mental capacities. Fortunately for us, these schools also state that we are at the beginning of a new era in which civilization itself will advance gradually during the next 2,000 years to a state of near perfection. There will be no disease, no crime, no violence, and nothing degrading to man. Other schools from virtually the same religious tradition take a much bleaker view based on astrological data, saying that humanity is at the beginning of a 430 million year cycle of time called the Kali Yuga, in which mankind descends to a mental state about the same plane as most animals or plants. This enormous length of time is likened to the creation of a hell on earth type of situation, which will bring about the complete annihilation of every facet of humanity, including religion and science. When man has become nothing but a beast, then and only then will the forces of the stars and planets begin to move him again to seek a higher good and a higher mental ground. This cycle, according to this school of thought, is so unlimitedly long that it is inconceivable to modern man, because his own science tells him that life on the planet Earth could not have existed for the number of years this theory calls for. But what is even more alarming is the future thus set out before him, hundreds of millions of years of endless misery and removal from the presence of God. A state of complete and utter insanity, not only of the individual but of the entirety of mankind, set to exist almost endlessly and without the possibility of redemption, a truly ghastly prospect to ponder. Which view, if any, is correct? The Roman Church, in its belief the earth to be the centre of the universe, the author of biblical Genesis who said creation took 7 days to complete, the 3 astrologer wise men from the East who said they had come to pay homage to the Son of God, Jesus Christ, or perhaps the Catholic writer James Joyce who described hell as being something like an eternally burning fire that is not consumed, or the religiously inspired author of such classics as Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson Gurdjieff, the man who wrote to create a new world order and to help define what modern mental illness was about. You must be truly out of your mind to put for your faith or trust in any of them, some might say. But hold on, wait a minute. I was saying that in an insane society where everyone was insane, going out of your mind might not be such a bad thing. But one little question remains, it being, how would you know the society was insane in the first place if you were a part of it and able to function? The idea of going out of your mind is likewise relative, and it may be that Tim Leary used it in a sense somewhat different to what I'm making it out as. And if that were true, then the whole point of doing it, having read his books, would be to find an alternative way of understanding them, rather than simply seeing them as objective facts in the world. Of course, the books as objects would be real, but their contents just might suddenly become a little less solidly fixed in time and space, and take on different meanings that are either at odds with the accepted meanings or completely reversed. If that were to happen, it might be possible to say then that one had gone out of his mind. At another level, holding a thought in mind based on the physical location in time and space, the street name and number of your local meditation centre, your local church and your local police station. If all of this combined to produce an objective evaluation of real-world events, leaving you with a certainty that you've just uncovered the biggest conspiracy in the history of the world, based solely and exclusively on murder, you wouldn't think you'd gone out of your mind, but it is probable that everyone else might.